Okay, so I got the guide that Jeff wrote. I mean, I guess it's a book. He calls it a book, but I'd call it a guide because he wrote everything step by step what you need to do. So first he says introduction. Many of you had the opportunity to watch this video, and he's talking about the video here. I will also link that video here, and please do watch it because this book is basically after you watch it, I guess. The video is just amazing. It has 3 million views, and I can totally see why. It's an amazing video. So first of all, you need a language parent, he says. And a language parent is basically someone who is going to help you out. This is what you are going to be doing for the whole year, is talking with somebody. Or wait, have them talk to you actually. So a language parent is a native speaker, and you can find them. They can be a friend of yours, family, colleagues even. The main idea is that you have them talk to you for like, let's say 2 hours a week. So he says you can try to find up to 5 language partners and have them talk to you for 2 hours maybe. So that's 10 hours a week, which is doable, I guess. The best language partners are those who are closest to you because they already know a lot about you, and it should be easy for you to meet up for language acquisition, I think is LA, right? So step 1, you are going to practice greetings. Well, not greetings as in hello, how are you, my name is, but you are going to try and have a natural introduction. So did anything happen? How's your friend? How's work? Those kind of things, like those easy small talk topics. If you completely start from zero, then you cannot just start with greetings. So I don't know why they're at step 1. The main idea is I want to have something personal to talk about each and every day during greetings. If my teacher knows my dog is sick, chances are she'll ask me the following day how my dog is, or if my mom is sick, the same thing goes on. You do this so that every time you meet with somebody, you have something to talk about, which I think is really good because it forces you to have a natural conversation. Jeff is a teacher, and so sometimes there's these things like in my own classes, because he teaches Spanish the same way as how he acquired these languages. But we're not in a class, so I'm skipping over this. Scripted greetings. This is also about class. Step 2 is past tense. So I guess after you do greetings, you do past tense. That doesn't make too much sense in my opinion, because isn't that way too complicated? You're going to be acquiring the past tense of verbs that we use in everyday life. So I saw Jeff do this in a video. I'll link that video as well. It's called Acquiring Past Tense in Farsi, I think. And what he does is you tell them what you did, then they tell you what they did, and then they'll also repeat what you did and they tell it to you as well. First, you're going to be hearing her speak in the first person tense. So that's her saying, or him saying, I did this, I did this. Then you're going to be practicing first person. I did this, I went, I talked, I played. And third, you're going to hear perfect second person. So you did this, you went, you talked, you played, you ate. Because obviously your teacher is a native speaker and that's what you want, exposure to the language spoken by a native speaker. Drawing or making gestures is super important because non-verbal communication is important, and it's super easy to communicate if you use gestures or if you draw. So if you don't understand each other, that's fine, but if you use gestures, you are going to be able to understand each other better. Oh wait, I have a guide. I should have a guide somewhere here. So step 3 is the magazines, and it says vocabulary building because you are going to be exposed to so many words. This is really how you learn a lot of vocabulary. Take 20 magazines maybe. Have your teacher tell you what they see. Oh wait, let's actually do this in my language, for example. Dit is een busje, een blauw busje, een blauwe bus. De lucht is blauw. So dit is de lucht. De lucht is blauw. En hier is de zon. De zon is een beetje geel. En we zijn in de bergen. Dit zijn bergen. Veel landen hebben bergen. Zwitserland heeft bergen. Duitsland heeft bergen. En hier zien we een man. Een man, en hij draagt een rode jas. Zijn jas is rood. Blah. So this is what you will be doing. And Jeff says for a beginning student, I would start with a stack of about 20 magazines and plan on spending 2 hours on each magazine. 20 times 2 hours, that's 40 hours. I'll hear about 100 to 200 words per hour, and at the end of that hour or two, I'll remember about 10% of them. Don't try too hard to remember the words, because what you're doing is you're hearing them over and over again, and you'll only remember 10% of them. And that is fine, because the next time that you hear this word, the chances are that you are going to remember it. Then you'll forget it again, and after a while, when you hear it again, maybe then you'll finally remember it. Of course, it depends on the language, because some languages sound similar, like let's say German and Dutch, for example. He says, when I acquired Arabic, the best I did was about 3.5 words per hour, which again is quite good. After 300 hours of Arabic, I knew about 1000 words. And in the previous video, I said getting to a conversational level requires you to know about 3000 words. So 300, 600, 900 hours, let's say 1000 hours. It's hard. It's a lot of time, but it's doable. It really is doable, I think. Jeff recommends Sunset or Travel and Leisure because those have nice pictures with a lot of different things. And before you start doing this, let your parent know that so before you do this, let your partner know these 3 rules: no English, no corrections, and no grammar. Because grammar, you don't really need it. You're going to listen and then acquire the grammar automatically. If you hear a phrase enough, then you're going to pick it up automatically. You know what's funny? These are all people that found this link and then clicked on it to see what this book is all about. And there are still people doing this after, how old is this video? Like 4 years? So then there's the sweet 16 verbs, the 16 most important verbs. Flashcards, he's not a fan of those. Other magazines. You don't have to speak from the start, but if you know about this language acquisition theory and these studies that I have made another video about, if you want to check that out, it's pretty damn interesting. I think there's an example of a family that moves to a different country, and then after a few months of just exposure, that's when they start speaking. So there's always this silent period. And now Jeff says you can start speaking as soon as possible. Go ahead and speak. Just make sure your teacher is doing about 90% of the talking, because the exposure, the listening is way more important here. That's really the thing that you want to stress on. As much input as possible. Now, I'm not exactly sure what I should be doing in day 1 and day 2, but Jeff wrote about all these things, what he did, and so I made a little summary of everything that he put in this guide. I'm going to be buying 20 magazines, lots of pictures, travel magazines, for 20-30 hours. So Jeff says that after these 20 to 30 hours of travel magazines, then is when you can start using other magazines. And also before you start doing this, I'd make sure that you know how to say yes, no, I understand, or I don't understand, and then it doesn't matter. Because if both of you don't understand something, you can try writing it down, and then if you still don't understand it, you can just say, okay, whatever, it doesn't matter, let's move on. So then there's all these activities. So I wrote this down. I don't know how accurate it is for day 1 until day 5, which is about 5 to 10 hours for the first 10 hours. It says day 2 and 3, but I don't know what to do on day 1, honestly. You're going to be practicing what's this, what's that. So I guess this is why you use the magazines, because you have to point at things and say, hey, what is this, what is that? You have to have some kind of context, because otherwise the other person, the partner, is not going to be able to talk about anything. So I guess this is why you use magazines. You just start out with them. Maybe I have to rewatch that video to make sure, but anyway. And then after 5 hours, you can start asking other questions, like what is he doing? What is she doing? And you can focus, because if you ask these questions, you focus on verbs, and verbs are so important. Then after 10 hours, you can start asking these why questions, which I said is just so important. Also, what you're doing, if you keep asking why, then they'll repeat things, and repetition is super important. So why ask why? Because you can hear the words again, aim for 5 to 10 times, and keep asking before turning the page. So then on day 6 until day 10, which is 12, 20, this is where you start doing the greetings. And the greetings is super easy. You just say, hey, how are you doing? How's work? How are you doing? So this is how you start your session, and after that you can do TPR. So TPR, Jeff also explains this in his video, but you can, I'll explain it really short as well. TPR is total physical response, I think, and it is commands. Sleep, walk, do this, sit down, eat, learn, play. 50 commands per session. So what you're going to be doing is after the greeting, you start with 50 commands. So for example, in Dutch, if you and I were practicing Dutch, and I would be teaching you Dutch, I guess teaching is not the right word here, but you know what I mean, then I would tell you slaap, and you would do this. Lach, and you would do this. Cry, I mean huil. You use your face, you use gestures, you use your hands, you use everything to act out these commands. Your brain associates things with images, so if you can use images and gestures to remember words, it's super effective. So Jeff says do about 50 each session and try to get a list of around 500. So after that, day 11 to 15, 22 and 30 hours, you do the greeting, you do the TPR, and then it says magazine. But I guess you can do these here as well, because you need some form of content, right? Anyway, we know what the magazine is. Then you'll also do children's stories, because those are great. And the reason for that is they have a lot of pictures. And if you can talk about the pictures, then, well, that's what we want, right? After 100 to 200 words. So you can start doing these pretty quickly. Once you know on 100 to 200 words, you can start doing children's stories. You have to make sure that you understand at least 90%. Just imagine if you were reading something and every 1 out of 10 words you wouldn't understand. That is pretty annoying. So usually when you're reading, you want to understand 95 at least, or maybe like 96, 97% of what you're reading. But in this case, go for 90%. Make sure you understand 90%. Otherwise, you can go back to the magazines until you're confident enough and you can do the children's stories. First, your language teacher is going to tell you the story, and they're not going to read it at all. They're just going to tell you what is happening. So for example, look, the bird is flying and then he went to bed, whatever. Then the second time, you are going to retell the story. So you are going to retell it. So first your teacher, then you are going to retell it, and then have the language teacher ask you questions about the book, but only yes or no questions. No complicated questions, because you want them to speak most of the time. You're only going to answer with yes, no, or maybe small short answers. And then we're up to 21, 25, 42 to 50 hours. I don't know what to do after this, honestly. I think you just continue with the magazines or something. I put here, use the story to start natural conversation. Eventually you want to just talk a lot with people and have them talk to you, right? And then you'll develop the language and you can start talking as well. And then there's TPRS. TPRS, let's see. TPRS is where you do stories. And again, stories, because stories are super efficient. We can visualize them in our head, and visualization leads to memorization. Choose any picture from a magazine or from the internet. Create a backstory of the person, so their name, age, home, family, job, etc. And then have the language partner ask you a lot of questions about the backstory. Create a conflict, so there's a problem. Then you recycle the story. You keep going back, and your language partner asks you lots of questions. He can go there, why can he not go there? You ask all these kinds of questions so that your language partner can give you more information. If you've solved the conflict, or if your story is at an end, the language partner is going to tell you the whole story in its entirety again. You're going to have the language partner retell you the story 2 times. So you come up with the story, which takes 20 minutes, and then you're going to have your language partner retell the story to you twice again. And then you can use these stories as well to create natural conversation, because that's the end goal, right? To have my normal conversation, getting at a conversational level. But this is only 50 hours, and I'm not sure how to... I don't know what level you would be at when you're 50 hours into a language. I guess I'm going to be trying this out. I'll let you know how it goes. If you're interested in that, or if you want to try this out, please do, because I'm really curious. Let me know as well. And until then, I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.